Welcome to another episode of the Love Popcorn People podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to be reviewing Saturday Night, along with giving you guys a recap of the Nashville Film Festival that we took part in. As always, I'm joined by my partner here, Mr. Don Fisher. How are you today, man?
What's popping kernels? Man, I'm good. I really just hope that everybody's enjoying the Penguin as much as we did. I know you're on the week to week, but it seems like the reviews of the audience is pretty positive. Uh, you know, the show's good, man. The show's
Yeah, it's
good.
fantastic. Yeah, it's so
and
good.
and it's crazy. 'Cause I did see. I don't know who it was exactly, but they put some kind of side by side shots of like like Tony Soprano, and then of Oz, and like some of the shots were very similar, and some of the dialogue was similar. I was like, yeah, it's Sopranos in Gotham. Like, what did you expect?
Yeah, exactly. It's a fantastic show that I've found myself really enjoying thoroughly quite a bit. It's definitely one of the better shows of 2024. I've been doing a lot of podcasting tonight, so I almost opened our show with my other podcast. But nonetheless, it was a fun festival. I didn't cover it as in depth as you did. Fresh out of surgery, I was definitely feeling every aspect of that surgery. But the first movie we're going to talk about right now is Saturday Night.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So Saturday Night, directed by Jason Reitman. Tensions run high as producer Lorne Michaels and a ferocious troupe of young comedians and writers prepare for the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live on October 11th, 1975. Now, this movie has a huge cast. We learned by talking to the director at the festival that there's almost 80 speaking roles, which is nuts. But it stars Gabriel LaBelle, Rachel Sennett, Corey Michael Smith, Ella Hunt, Dylan O'Brien, Emily Farron, Matt Wood, Lamar Morris, Kim Matula, Finn Wolfhard, and the list goes on and on and on. I'll step into this one. Um, so the first thought of this movie, first thing that came to mind was this is the comedic, anxiety ridden version of Uncut Gems. The same kind of high pressure feeling you get from Uncut Gems. You get that kind of same feeling with this with Saturday Night. It's 90 minutes of chaos. You have a bunch of, high, coked out, funny people trying to make them name for themselves, who have never shot TV before, with executives who want this show to fail because there's really just a contract dispute with one Johnny Carson, and it's filled with history and historic moments. We don't know what's exactly 100% true and what's not, because there's some wild moments in this show or in this movie. But no, it's a lot of it's fun because of the chaos. I mean, just imagine like these people we know now were some of the biggest names in comedy, and this is at the early stages where there's a few bigger names, but they're all jockeying for position. Everybody wants to be a star. Few are bigger than others, and some of them don't like each other, and some think they're above the whole the whole thing. Uh, and yeah, you just have Lauren running around, literally putting out fires, trying to get it all together, and trying to be a trailblazer in television, the television revolution that no one had ever done before. And which is funny because we kind of see, with there's another show that pops up in the movie that you're like, that's kind of the same thing, even though the one was more like a talent show. But just to see all this trying to get put together, everybody's trying to fit their jokes in, their skits in, and skits weren't really a thing at this point. So there's a lot of like history, there's a lot of energy, and I think that really it's sold throughout this whole 90 minutes. And it's one of those films where you can really just sit back and watch and enjoy without trying to find a deeper meaning to what's going on, because ultimately it's artists trying to figure out and sell their vision while also just trying to think outside the box and give us something, give people something that they had never seen before. And I think that the film does all that. um it's not necessarily groundbreaking, but it's exciting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is something, going into this movie, there was so much hype, like so much hype across the board on this film that it was almost overbearing in some aspects, right? Because it was like, is this film really going to be as good as the hype? You know what I mean? And it was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we shifted the release date. We did so many different things about the film. It's like, all right, the studio's buying the hype. So, is it potentially overhyped? And you know what? I have to say it's not. I found myself really enjoying it. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by how chaotic it is. And for me, it's like it's almost messy to a point to purpose, right? It's
Yeah.
off balance, it's unbalanced, it's off kilter, it's claustrophobic, it kind of never allows you to kind of breathe air without really kind of stopping and slowing down. And I think because of that, you're really enjoying every aspect of the film because you're not able to really like pause for a second. It's like, oh, wait, this, and it's shot so chaotic. Like you said, he spoke to over 80 speaking roles in the film. There's so many people in this film that even if they have a few moments that they shine, bright in this. And to me, I thought Gabrielle Bell was great as Lauren Michaels. I feel like he really is the glue that kind of holds this film together. And to me, I really feel like this is one of those films that has like a Screen Actor Guild, the ensemble kind of cast listed in it. Another aspect of the film that I thought that was really well put together was the fact that they didn't force the characters to be carbon copies of who they were portraying.
Yeah.
Uh, I felt like the only one that was kind of close in that manner was the John Belushi portrayal by Matt
Mm,
Wood, which I thought was really good. I thought he was very, very intense in this film. Yeah, it's got a lot to say, but it doesn't have anything to say at the same time. And I think you're just kind of watching the groundbreaking aspect of Saturday Night Live being born. And it's hilarious watching Lauren Michaels attempting to cast of misfits, basically misfit comics, to host a show with basically no structure and not sure how he's going to do it. But at some point in time, he's going to figure it out and he's going to put the pieces together. And you can't be like mad at the idea or the concept of this because honestly, it truly knocks it out of the ballpark. And to me, I was thoroughly impressed by the direction here. I felt like Reitman does a great job. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed this film. I thought it was fantastic. I think I highly recommend checking it out. It's got a tight run time.
yeah.
I think seeing it with an audience is fun too. So, but yeah, I can't say nothing but great things about Saturday Night. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think I just remember one of the things that I liked the most about it was with it being so many characters, everybody had just enough of an arc for you to care about what was going on with
Yeah.
him, especially the kind of relationship between Lauren and his wife, quote unquote, which is an interesting dynamic that you see in the film. And I really liked Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase. He did so good, and I wish I could remember as a kid if Chevy was like that, like charming and that like command had a command of like a room the way that he does in this movie. But if it was any kind of way like that, then holy shit. Um, and we learned that John Baptiste, he did the score live on the set. So they would shoot and he would see the scene and then he would just kind of think for a second, riff off some like notes and stuff, and then put his band together, and they do the score right then and there, which is insane, unheard of, and it only works because he was in the mix. Because some of the score, if you were to try to do it with like, the movie's over and have a guy do the score after the fact, it wouldn't have worked, because there's parts where it's just like tambourine and some knocking or some drums, and it's like how would you even come up with that? But it adds to that heightened level of energy and chaos. It's fun, man. And it's just funny. It is hilarious, and it weirdly plays out like an SNL episode, with your breaks and your your weekend update coming in. Like, it's almost kind of a meta thing. Like, as they're making SNL, they're making SNL to it's crazy. No,
Yeah.
Jason Reitman did really good casting. We talked to John Papsadera, great casting, who apparently is one of the people who like put on Chalamet for the first time, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. And it was just kind of impressive, top to bottom. A big fan of it. So, what are some of the other films that you saw at the festival that you really enjoyed? Maybe just give a let's try to do something as simple as name a film, and we'll go back and forth. Name a
Yeah.
film, tell somebody what you thought of it, short, sweet, and maybe give it a score.
So I think I ended up watching about 13, 14 movies throughout that period. I think one that I loved, that I believe Ricky had already seen, was Exhibiting Forgiveness. Dude, if you want to like cry, like a healthy cry, and really feel like someone's life, this is the movie for you. It's like, every time I see Anjanou Ellis, she reminds me of like family. So when she is in pain or is struggling, I'm just like, Auntie, no, what's going on? No, the movie's crazy. I mean, this full like dealing with like generational trauma, and a father who was only doing the best he could, and he has to rationalize that to make himself realize that he's not a piece of shit, while his son is struggling in his own life to what he went through. There's a lot of emotion. It's all emotion, and then beautiful artwork as well. It's fantastic. And I probably I have to give it like a 8.5, man,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
out of 10, of course.
I love that movie so much. I'm going to talk about a film made by some local Nashville guys called Clone Cops. It's just it's a perfect film for like an independent movie. It's the definition of an independent movie. It was directed by Daniel Dones, a good friend of mine. He co-wrote it with Philip Cordial. It's just about a gang of outlaws to find their hideout until they discover a shocking secret who they are up against. It's funny, it's delightful, it's the perfect B movie. It's what I define this movie as. It's the movie that you would go to Blockbuster and see it on the shelf, and you would have grabbed it, you would have taken it home, and you really would have enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Back in the day, you wouldn't have known what it was about, but like you would have went and be like, oh man, I'm gonna go get Deadpool and Wolverine off the shelf, but like all of the Deadpool and Wolverines were sold out. So then you would have been like, all right, well, we got to get a movie for the 9. So you grab Clone Cops instead. And you're like, oh shit, I'm glad I
Yep.
grabbed that instead. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different times that you did. That's the type of movie Clone Cops is. And I loved it quite a bit for that. Perfect. Like a solid 7 out of 10.
One of my next favorites was In the Summers. And it follows these two girls they're sisters. Their parents are divorced. They live with their mom in California, but every summer they go to stay with their dad. And it goes through these years of them being like 10 years old to being in their 20s, graduating college and things like that. And you see their dad is uh he struggles at being a father. He struggles with alcoholism. He struggles with kind of expressing his love for his daughters, and it turns into resentment for one, and one who is chasing her father's attention, and you kind of see some mirroring of like the one of the daughters becoming kind of like her dad, the other one finding herself in a person who takes care of them while they're with their dad sometimes. As she discovers her sexuality, which is kind of cool to see. There's a shot where she like looks at her and sees her haircut, and then she's like, this is a cool lady. And then you see how that grows over the years. And it just kind of shows like this weird like duality of life where you can really love people, but sometimes like it's not as deep as they want it to be. Even if they're blood, like you would think like that's his daughter's undying love, and life isn't perfect, and neither is this story, which makes it so real. And I'm very sure that there's people who can relate to this story. It plays out really well. It's shot beautifully, and it's a lot of visual storytelling. So there's enough dialogue, but it's not like real heavy in the script. But beautiful movie. It's one of my favorites of the festival. I it's hard. I gotta go another 8.5, man. I'm going high.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of very good movies, I want to talk about Your Monster, a movie that I know you enjoyed as well, but
Yeah.
a movie that maybe we'll have to go a little bit deeper into in the future. But this is the movie that you watch the trailer and it gives you a specific vibe, but when you watch the movie, it's completely different. The film has a great foundation, and it all starts with Caroline Lindy's script, which I think it has so much profound things to say that each act does this beautiful thing of building upon layers of these characters, giving a powerful payoff in the end. I think her attention to detail is second to none. There's rarely someone paying attention to the little things to allow a story to kind of fully form. And she hides things, I think, in plain sight with her direction, with her script and direction. That kind of like, there's a few moments where something happens and you kind of see it coming, but you also are kind of surprised by it at the same time, just because of it's just a craft that was beautiful. And to be honest, at the end of the day, I mean, Melissa Barrera, I think, is one of the best multi-talented actresses in Hollywood. I think she delivers a perfect balance of like this innocence, vulnerability, and then eventually this fierceness in her portrayal of Laura Franco. And honestly, it doesn't work without her and Tommy Dewey, who plays the monster in the film's chemistry. These two are easy to love, easy to cling on to. And to be honest with you, anything that you could potentially think this movie's about by watching the trailer, you're probably completely wrong. And it's all for the better. It's a fantastic movie. I loved it. And I can't wait to rewatch it. So, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a real good one. It's gonna be a good October.
Yeah.
um, One of the funniest ones I saw was the French Italian, and I believe it's Rachel Wolver is the director. The movie's a lot of fun. So you have this um, I guess what Upper West Side, New York couple who think very highly of themselves. They have an annoying neighbor, and they come up with this very diabolical idea to play a prank on their loud, obnoxious neighbor, to create a fake play to kind of figure out what was going on downstairs. They were nosy, they heard fighting and things of that sort, and they wanted to know what's going on. So they decide to make a fake audition, and that audition turns into a full blown play that they eventually write. And the movie is perfectly cringy because these people just don't know how like absurd and obnoxious they are, and eventually it's one of those stories where they become the people that they were trying to make fun of, and they get exactly what they deserve in the end, in a very like funny, realistic way, not like a mean, like it turned out bad. Like the whole movie's just funny. One of the uh, funniest actresses I've seen in a while for this type of role is Catherine Cohen. She has like a stand up on Netflix. She's like, this role was like kind of made for her type of comedy. She's kind of this over the top but very confident type of person, and it plays perfectly with her kind of, I don't like the word, but for lack of a better word right now, like the beta male uh fiance boyfriend situation. And yeah, it's just a funny good time. It's one of those like perfect little indie comedies that kind of you can you get the message pretty quickly, and the rest of the time you can just kind of sit back and laugh at how absurd the performances are with one of their friends who is tagging along but also trying to be a serious actor at the same time. It's a great time. Everybody was dying in the screening. Yeah, it's I think it's one of those kind of hidden gem comedies that you find on streaming and you realize, oh, like this is really funny. Like, what else has this director done, or whatever? What else have these actors done? So yeah, it's a solid 7. It's always a fun time to laugh, especially after watching a lot of these like heavier movies. It's a good little break from that.
I totally agree. All right, folks, we're not going to be too long on the tooth today, but we've got a big week ahead of us. Dom and I will talk shortly, probably this week. We'll see each other tomorrow night, obviously, because we're going to see Joker tomorrow night, and
Follow you do.
that should be a banger of a film. I don't think anything else really comes out this week, right? I don't think anything would be wise to come out this week.
Nah, not that I think. Of course, I'll probably at some point this week try to go catch the Wild Robot and Megalopolis because we've been busy. Especially because those movies, our screenings, they drop the same time as the festival was going on.
Oh man,
So I wasn't able to see either one of them.
Yeah, he's gonna go see this as well, guys.
Which one? Yo, I saw that pop up like the poster like a couple weeks ago, and I thought somebody made that. I thought it was just like a meme, and then I look on the Regal app, and then I realized no, that's a movie.
It's real. It's real. It's still real to him, damn it. I was thinking about that. I was like, could I go see a movie before the movie tomorrow? But do I really want to do that? Do I really want to though? Is the real question.
Well, see, you watch something like that, whatever you watch next is gonna be a masterpiece.
Well, I wasn't talking about fucking that. I was definitely not talking about seeing that. No, I was talking about seeing. I was like talking about seeing one of these other dumbass movies that are. I really still want to see Substance. I haven't seen that.
Me too. I've heard like from people who are more skeptical than usual. Like there's a lot of people like this movie. I've heard Demi Moore gives great performances. Margaret Qualley is one of my favorites of the last like couple years. She's really like proved herself to be like one of the top. I think I want to say after Made, and then everything after that, like I started paying attention to what she was in. And I said, oh, she's good. She's better than her mom, unfortunately for her mom. I'm sorry, mom, but she's really good.
Damn, why don't you fucking just slander her? But yeah, Dom and I will probably do a podcast some point this week. I haven't talked to him about it, but we'll have to do a podcast about Joker, just based on seeing it tomorrow night. And then next week I won't be in town, so we'll definitely have to do something for Joker related, and we'll get that out to you guys in the masses. In the meantime, head over to Netflix, watch Will and Harper. And then followed by that, watch Nobody Wants Us because I want a second season. If we don't get a second season, I'll throw something through my wall. And then, of course, don't forget to watch Penguin, because that shit is great. Any parting words for the masses, Mr. Fisher?
Parting words this week. It's getting close to the election. You don't have to tell people who you're voting for. You don't have to tell people who you support. You don't have to tell people what party you were in. Let's go back to the days like when we were kids in the 90s where nobody knew who you were voting for and it wasn't so divisive. And because I feel like things like that, pretend like it's HIPAA. Pretend like this is like a hospital a diagnosis that you don't want anybody to know. Because I don't mind talking politics with people and it being like, a fair, balanced conversation, even if it does get a little heated. But you still can have those without saying I'm voting for this guy or this person or that woman. Like you just don't, because it's counterproductive a lot of the time. People are not trying to listen; they're just waiting to talk. So just don't engage. Go vote in peace and quiet, and keep it pushing. Like, and you definitely don't have to post it all over your social media either. You know what I mean? You have some decorum, have some mystery about yourself, and because people will like you better. Okay, you don't gotta say everything that pops in your mind. That's for us to do. Okay, we say the wild shit, and y'all react. Y'all can keep your thoughts to yourself, and then point at us later when we say some wild shit. Okay, you know what I mean? But that's what we're here for. We're for your entertainment. You feel me? But yeah, keep it G, okay? Like G's moving silence. All right. Lil Wayne said that. Like lasagna.